name is Nick Wood, and this is my lead gen story. No, I'm kidding, guys. I do want to share with you how I got into lead gen, kind of the middle hiccups there, because I'm going to, spoiler alert here, I walked away from it for a period of time. Got back into it, and then where I'm at today. I just want to share that story really briefly because I think it's unique and interesting. Every single person that gets into this business, everyone has a different reason for getting in, but at the same time, we all kind of have some there's some commonalities as to why we all are attracted to this business model. So I'll make this as brief as possible. Going back to 2016, I was on my fourth year of selling door-to-door home security systems. Yes, you heard that right. Honestly, one of the greatest decisions I ever made in my entire life. It taught me more than I could have learned. Like, I got an education in 4 years that would have taken me 30 years. I believe doing corporate sales or anything like that, it was so incredibly difficult, and I am so glad I made that decision. But if I had known how difficult it was going to be, I don't know if I would have done it, right? Like, it's one of those things. So I was on my fourth year, and I was really tired, and I knew this wasn't the life that I wanted. I was making really good money, 150 to 200K. Great money to me at the time. We had a good lifestyle. I was young, and our kids were small, so it worked. But I remember getting the paycheck at the end of 2015 before my last year, and they would give it to us in a lump sum in October, like a big chunk of it. And I remember getting that check, and it was a six-figure check. Like it was a great check. This is just what was still owed to me. And the 2 years before that, I was so pumped. I was like, look, I got the check, and I'm so glad I did this work. But that year was different. It was my biggest year that I ever had, and my biggest year up to that point as well. And I remember just looking at the amount and going, that's awesome. However, I just worked like 6 months in the beating sun. And I remember thinking, if I want to earn that amount of money again, and that year I made like 210K, I was like, I have to do all of that again. I don't get paid any recurring revenue. I don't own any part of the company. Like, I am literally, even though it pays well, I am literally trading my time for dollars. And I remember at that moment, I was like, I got to get out. I got to get out. And so at that moment, I started going on like this foray of like, okay, how, I don't even know if that's the right word, but I got obsessed with like, I got to get out of this. I got to do it. And I got to own the thing. I'd always had aspirations to own my own business. So I just started looking at different things, and I actually heard this guy named James Altucher. He talked about like using your mind. It's a muscle and your idea muscle. And so he recommended, he's like, hey, jot down some ideas every single day, some business ideas every single day. And so from that moment, about mid-October of 2015, for almost a year, I wrote down 10 business ideas every single day in a note in my phone. 10 every single day. And for the first couple of days, it was easy because I had all these built up ideas. And about day 7, I started to have to really, really use my creative brain. And I was like, holy crap, this is tough. And I remember there's times I was laying in bed, ready to go to sleep. And I'm like, oh, I gotta do those. I committed to doing this. Write down your 10 ideas. And I had some really stupid ideas, but I also had some really good ones. And that just kind of got the juices flowing. And so I started doing that. I started listening to some podcasts, and just started like, I just wanted to find something that like did everything that my current job did. And it was something that I own. It's something that had recurring revenue. It's something that was on the internet, all these different boxes that I needed to check. And lo and behold, somebody in my own backyard had done the same job that I had done, which is door-to-door sales, and they were now doing some other really cool entrepreneurial stuff. And my mother-in-law, of all people, messaged me, and she said, hey, you should check this guy out. He used to do door-to-door sales like you, and now he's doing all this cool stuff. And she actually introduced us, or maybe she just told me to reach out, and I reached out on Facebook or something, and I said, hey, bro, and his name is Brad. I said, Brad, let's go to lunch. Are you cool going to lunch? And I'm really thankful that he said yes, because I hate when people ask me to go to lunch at this point, because it typically is a waste of time. So Brad, if you're watching this, thank you for that. That was life-changing lunch for me. We go to lunch and we start talking. I'm like, bro, how did you get out of this business? Like I've got the golden handcuffs. I'm making 150 to 200 grand, and I have like half the year off, but I hate it. But I'm kind of feeling stuck, and I want to get out. And he's like, well, let's like, what do you like? And he said something to me. He said, what do you think about the internet? Like, and it was really vague. He said, what do you think about the internet? And I said, I love the internet. I love the idea of the internet because of this, and this. I could do it from anywhere. It's scalable, blah, blah, blah. So he said, go and listen to this podcast I did with this guy. And he sent me the podcast. He said, go listen to that. And if you like what you hear, I'll link you up. And I go and I download the episode and I listened, and I was hooked. I was like, dude, this is it. And it was somebody that was talking about lead generation. It was talking about not flat fee at the time. It was talking about just local lead generation. I was like, this is it. And at the time, it did sound too good to be true, yes, but everything made sense. You own the asset. It was like literally the digital version of Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I was like, that makes sense. That's what I want to do. And so what I ended up doing is I ended up going out for one more summer in 2016 to Huntsville, Alabama. And after literally the first day I went out, I went and shadowed the other manager because my licensing hadn't come through yet, so I couldn't legally knock on doors. I go and shadow him, and I remember sitting there on like the fourth door going, I can't finish this summer. This is going to be the longest freaking summer of my life. I got to get out of this. So I went home that day, and I jumped on to that person that had the podcast. I jumped onto their website, and I started watching the testimonials. I started looking at all the case studies, and I started doing all this stuff, and I was hooked. I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the thing. And but again, I had 4 months of knocking doors, 4 or 5 months of knocking doors before I had to make money for my family still. So literally day one of my last year of knocking doors, I booked a call. I booked a call, and I didn't know how this worked. I didn't know how these coaching things work where you book a call and they're going to hard close you. I didn't. I just thought it was an information call. So I booked a call, and I kind of showed my wife like one video. I'm like, hey, babe, check out this business model. It's so cool. And she's like, yeah, whatever. That's another thing. Like she knew how I was. She's like, cool, sounds cool. So I booked a call for a couple days later. And I remember the day of the call, I got an email that said, hey, make sure you watch these videos. I didn't watch any of that stuff. And if I did, it wasn't completely, or it wasn't thoroughly. I just was like, cool, I had the thing. And I remember it was my brother's birthday. I went to go buy him like a t-shirt or something. And I was in the mall parking lot, and this is like in the morning, 11 o'clock. And I got on the call, and it wasn't a Zoom call. I just got on the call. I was in the mall parking lot. I told my wife, hey, I'm going to be taking this call. Get on this call with no intention of buying this program, just wanted information. And an hour later, I had given this person my credit card details, and I was in, okay? And I bought my first program in May of 2016. And from there, I spent that summer, I would knock doors during the day, and at night I was building sites. And I would knock doors during the day, at night I was building sites. And before I actually went home from that summer, I had 2 deals under my belt. I had a flat fee deal with a guy locally in town, and I had another deal that was on a pay-per-lead model, which ended up being pretty good for a little while, and then what always happens with pay-per-lead deals, it fizzled out. Fast forward, end of 2016, I got too cool for the business model. I started even though I made money, which is so ridiculous, I made money, but I was like, and this is sad to admit, but I remember thinking it's kind of lame to tell people I do marketing. Like, I don't want to be the guy that's like, I do digital marketing. I want to be the guy that has a software company or this tech company. And again, this is the maturity level I was at the time. It was all about that. And so I basically took this program, I set it on the shelf, and I went and tried to build a software company. And fast forward a year from that, and it miserably failed. I lost $50,000. I had to pay all the people back because the developer didn't deliver the code. And I landed myself $60,000 in debt, which leads us to 2017. And I have $3,000 in the bank. My wife says it's time to go back to knocking doors. I said, hell no. And I dusted the program off the shelf, and I did what I had to do. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go get some deals, and I'm not getting a job. And she said, you have 3 days. We need $3,000 or else you got to get a job. Like, there's no and ifs or buts about it. 3 days later, I got 3 deals. I built 3 websites for 3 of my friends, $1,000 a piece. And I made it work. And from that moment for the next 8 months, I was doing SEO. I was trying to build it up. I was trying to get cash, and I had to pay the bills. All the way until that puts us in mid 2018, I realized I could not scale the SEO. So I jumped back into lead gen. I'm like, I'm in this lead gen program. I'm building SEO. Well, I made a mistake, and I started signing a bunch of people up on a pay-per-lead deal, and I was in the wrong niche, and I was in the wrong cities, and I thought I had this gold on my hands, and this niche was basement waterproofing, and I had done one good deal out of complete luck, and I went and built like 50 websites. I'm like, I'm gonna go vertical. And I was making money, what I thought was money on paper, but I was having to spend so much money to acquire the leads that I really wasn't making money. And I hired people, and I got an office, and this whole thing from 2018 all the way a year and a half later to the end of 2019. And I was this close to throwing in the towel. At that point, I was still $60,000 in debt, but now I had an office lease in my name. I had employees. I was making money, but I was only bringing in $8,000 to $10,000 of net profit, and I was working my ass off. And most of that was SEO, and I was doing the ups and the downs, and the clients bugging me and this and that. And I was like, this isn't worth it. I want to just be a salesperson. I'm good at sales. I don't think this agency thing is what it's panned out to be. Like, I don't think that people actually make money. And I was this freaking close to just calling it. And luckily, I was smart enough amidst all the stupidity to pull out a piece of paper one day and go, you know what, before I make this decision, what do you want, Nick? What do you freaking want out of life? And I wrote at the top, I put, I want $100,000 a month. And I started asking myself, why? Why do you want 100,000? And then I wrote that and I put why. And I went about 7 layers deep, and I realized why I wanted the 100,000 per month. And I realized that if I went and became a sales guy for somebody else, I would never, ever hit 100,000. And I realized, hey, I have one of the greatest business models like right here on my fingertips, but I just have to figure it out. And I know it's not SEO, and I know it's not pay per lead, and I know it's not commission. And I started looking at like the clients that I had, and I was like, oh, what about that one? And I had a couple of these clients, like 1 or 2 clients that I almost forgot about because they were so low maintenance, but I had been making money for years. And these were the flat fee clients. These are people that were paying me every week that were just very easy, low maintenance. And I was sending them leads. They were paying me. That was it. And I was like, that's it. And so from the end of 2019, I said, you know what? I'm going to give this a year. 2020, I am going to figure out how to sell flat fee, and I am going to, and by the way, with pay per lead, I had gone through 2 winters of everything going good in the spring, everything going good in the summer, everything going good in the fall, and then winter, whoop, dips down because pay per lead, right? In the winter. And I was done with that. I was like, flat fee it is. I've got to do flat fee. And I set out on a mission in 2020 to figure out flat fee. That led to getting a few deals early 2020. That led to me thinking, well, what if I just use other people's money? And I started running ads to speed the process up. And I don't even build the site until I've landed the deal, which led to the pre-selling, which I did that for 2020, 2021, and I am still to this day doing this. But the crazy part is in 2020 in July, we had our first $100,000, this is gross, but first $100,000 month doing flat fee lead gen. And everything has changed since then. That year was an absolute incredible year. If you would have told me in 2019, hey, in 2020, you're gonna do 7 figures, as you probably would guess, I would have laughed. I would have said, you're crazy. I was this close, guys, to giving up. And if I had, I would have missed out on $1 million year in 2020. I would have missed out on a $1.5 million year in 2021. And heaven knows what this year's going to bring. We're halfway through it, but it is looking like it's going to be crazy. I cannot believe I was this close to giving up. So everyone's story is different. What I've noticed, the commonality with everyone that I've taught, everyone that I've coached, everyone that I've interacted with, my friends, my colleagues, everyone that's in the space, most people, they see the vision, they have the passion, they get it right in the beginning. They're excited, they're stoked, and then they run into something, they get distracted, and they put it on the shelf. Every single person. But you know what I've noticed about almost every single one of those people, including myself, we always come back to the business model. We'll go chase the SEO company. We'll go try to start the software company. We'll go and try and start this or start that or do this job or whatever. And we always make our way back to the flat fee lead generation because we realize that's the only thing that's going to scale. So guys, from all of this, my biggest piece of advice is don't get distracted. If you get in and it gets a little bit tough, it feels a little bit slow, stay the course. I've chased the shiny objects. I've tried doing all of those things. I've tried to start every type of service under the sun, every type of business I've looked into. And the one that I always come back to, the one that I'm literally today as I'm recording this, I have a sales call at 3:00 for an excavation company. I've never been in this niche, but I'm going to try it out. Today, I'm doing a deal. I'm pitching it for $1,000 a month. It is the greatest business model on the internet. Guys, get involved, and I'll see you in the next video.